Hi, and welcome to Work Inspired Podcast. It's your host, Kimberly Sullivan. Today, we're having a conversation with Serena Alaily, the CEO of Aspire Chicago, along with one of their many impactful volunteers, Jerry DeCola. Today, our conversation is about how combining heart and strategy can leave a lasting impact. Discover how working with boundless inclusivity for people in the disabilities community can create better job opportunities that lead to professional development through internship training, corporate partnerships, and many other aspects. Work Inspired starts right now. Thank you, Serena, for being here. And thank you, Jerry, for bringing Serena to us today.
My pleasure.
We're very excited to have you both. Serena, could you tell us your professional story?
Ooh, I would love to. When I look back, my life, I would say there's three words that come top of mind, and that is purpose, driven, and a deep belief in people. I know you're going to balk at this, but I actually started my career in public accounting because I had an early mentor. I've been really fortunate. I've had a lot of phenomenal mentors along my life, and Jerry being one of them. And that mentor said, you know what? The best place that you can learn the worst and the best about companies is in public accounting in a short order. So I headed to Washington, D.C., where there's a ton of nonprofits. And I did. I learned a ton. I learned about systems, controls, how important financial clarity and, frankly, financial strength are to make a company run smoothly. I loved it. However, we were in Washington, D.C., which is great. It's great, but Chicago's better. And my husband ended up here for law school, so I followed him here, and we fell in love with it. We've been here for over 20 years now. I stayed in public accounting for a while, and then I found Easter Seals. So I was a controller there for many years, and during my time there, what I learned is that mission behind numbers, how important that is to connect. And for me personally, that's a driver, and I loved it. I absolutely loved my time at Easter Seals, but eventually I found Aspire, or should I say Aspire found me. And I've been here, gosh, Jerry, I think 8 years now, and I've been able to get to know you through those years at Aspire. I started as a CFO, so not a typical path for a CEO, but I'm fortunate, especially in the day and age we're in now, that I understand the numbers. But during the last 8 years, we've done some pretty phenomenal things. We've done a merger. So we combined with another organization up in Lake County. We were also, during COVID, when we did that acquisition, their academy was about 90,000 square feet. It was dark. It was depressing. I don't know if you ever saw it.
I briefly saw the ad.
Yeah, it was depressing.
It was.
Depressing. It served its purpose for many, many years, but it's not where we wanted our team members. It's definitely not where we wanted the people we support. But during COVID, warehouse space became in high demand, which I'm sure a lot of your facility people out there know that is still to this day in demand. However, what wasn't in demand was office space, kind of like this, with these beautiful windows and sun drench coming in, right? That's not, it wasn't in demand during COVID. Everyone was at home. And we were able to buy our dream academy through an auction setting. So pretty cool. I've never done that. And I remember the entire process. Actually, one of our partners on the facility committee was an individual who really understood the commercial space. So he kind of walked us through the process, great learning experience. And I remember sitting at the computer, you're waiting for the clock to run down. And you know the max that the board had blessed at that point in time. The facility committee had checked it out. We felt good about it, but nothing above that amount. And I was ready to hit the button. And I had the current CEO at that time right here on my shoulder, stressing out. I could feel his energy, but that's okay. I was calm. My hands were not shaking. And I was able to hit submit. And they did a tricky thing. They reset the clock. So then all of our hearts were racing because that's not apparently the protocol for an auction. Eventually it ran out and we did win the building. And it is beautiful. I know the two of you are experts in this, but it makes such an incredible difference to have sunlight, to have a space that's beautiful and welcoming. We've seen that the people we support are much happier. We've seen our team members are much happier. I'm definitely happier when I go into that space. We've also doubled our equity over the last 8 years, which is really important in the current environment. And we'll need to depend on that pretty darn heavily. All of that was on the professional level, but on the deeper level, and Jerry, I don't know if I've shared this with you, but I have 3 beautiful children. I have a 16-year-old. We were just talking about this, actually. I have a 16-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 12-year-old, all female, so you can feel bad for my husband. There's a lot of sparkles going around in the Alaily house, but he tolerates it pretty well. He's got a space, a quiet, talking about quiet space. He has a quiet space that he escapes to. My youngest, she has many physical disabilities. And every day I see in her yearning for a full life, her yearning for self-advocacy. And that type of true power that I see in her is what I bring to the table at Aspire, and I want for every single person that I support. I see those same desires, wanting a full life. That's all anyone really wants, including adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So it's been a pretty phenomenal road. I can't believe how many decades have passed at this point. But if I had to sum it up, Kimberly, I would say at first I followed the numbers, and then I followed my heart, and now I can lead with both.
You talked a little bit about your company and a little bit about what makes it special and unique. Is there anything else you'd like to add about it?
Oh, there's a lot to talk about Aspire. Yeah. I love Aspire.
Great.
I love Aspire. Yes, absolutely. So on the surface, if you guys didn't gather already, it is a company for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. That's at the surface. And we support Lake and Cook County. We have 2 academies, one in Hillside, one in Waukegan. We have a lot of homes that we support that Jerry helps me quite a bit with. It's pretty amazing. But at its heart, what makes it truly special is that it's a bold community of doers, collaborators, and dreamers. And I really do believe that. And our secret sauce, and big part of Jerry, is we believe in partnerships. And that's what makes us really special, right? Our partnerships.
I'm sorry.
Please.
You talked about your family, and it's interesting when I interact with a lot of families or people who are on different committees, all have a story that ties back to somebody either directly or indirectly who have some disability.
You're exactly right.
And it's not like I have to help because I have a son or daughter. It's because I want to help, and indirectly, I'm going to help my son or daughter or my nephew or whomever.
And we have people that maybe it's not directly, but maybe it's someone who lives on their block or someone who's touched their lives, or they just truly want to connect with our communities and make it a better place, which is amazing. And how Jerry has volunteered with us in one of our key partnerships is we have a facility committee of experts, individuals like Jerry. We have had engineers, we've had architects, we have attorneys that specialize in this. I actually think you introduced us to the attorney. So it's a pretty core group of individuals who've helped us really improve our physical spaces. And I know we'll talk about that more later, but all those skills are so critical. We also partner with companies. We partner with companies to really understand their pain points on the front line and how can maybe we provide a solution of a hidden talent, meaning individuals with disabilities that might be a phenomenal fit for those companies with the right training. That is our secret sauce, is partnerships, and Jerry's part of that fabric. And also partnerships, it's not just me spewing this out. It's not just our executives in the organization. It is woven into the fabric of Aspire, from our frontline workers all the way through me. And it is actually one of our values. One of our values is for relationships. So it's something that we really talk a lot about, and we show, and we want to make sure everyone has the best possible experience at Aspire.
So the culture's great. The people are great. The volunteers are great. The partners are great. I mean, you guys have people makes the difference here.
You're exactly right.
Right.
Yeah. We talked a bit about your company
Yes.
and how important the work is. Can you elaborate a bit more about that?
Yes. I think what you're asking me is, why should we care about people with
Yes.
disabilities at the core? I'm just going to be more harsh than you. Let's just put it out there.
Okay.
You know what? Jerry, you started to touch on this.
It's so encouraging when you see the success. When you see some of these people that have found employment or found opportunities, they're just beaming. I mean, I grew up with an aunt who had Down syndrome, and I see the same light in the people from Aspire who have been assisted that I saw in her. When you say what's going on, she didn't tell you about her. She didn't tell you about what she was doing personally. She told you about the work she was doing, and this back then was just project work. But she was, and she would tell you about the paycheck she got. She I don't know what it was, but she just like, oh my God, I got a paycheck, and that was exciting for her.
For people, just pure numbers, from age 20 up through seniors, about a fourth of us will have a disability. This touches almost everyone in the U.S. in one shape or form. And then, just sharing a story with you, I remember having a deep conversation with one of our leaders. Actually, it was Susan. Mm-hmm. She oversees all of our facilities. And she looked at me and she said, you know what, Serena, people ask me, how can I do this work? 'Cause it's really hard sometimes. Mm-hmm. And she said, you know what? We are one step away from needing an Aspire ourselves. Mm-hmm. And she's right. One car accident, one seizure with any type of brain damage, and you're going to need a company like Aspire. And you're going to hope that you find a company like Aspire. And really the other part is, just for me personally on a value system level, I think a measure of a nation is how you treat your most vulnerable individuals. But for the U.S., we've come a long way. There's still room there. And we're continuing, Aspire's helping our nation to really down that road.
Well, there's always room for improvement.
Yes,
right?
there is. Yes, there is.
So, Serena, what is a resource that's been valuable to you in your career that you would recommend to others?
I mean, I know my team knows this about me. Jerry may know this. I love to learn. I love to learn. So over my life, yes, I have little nuggets from books, leadership books, like Jim Collins is great, or podcast. I'm in the car a lot, so I'm constantly listening to podcasts. I love Hidden Brain, people I mostly admire. Those are both awesome, and I've definitely taken some nuggets and applied it at Aspire. However, where I've learned the most is from having a close-knit group of individuals, mentors, coaches, friends, even coworkers who will say to you, Kimberly, if you have this, you have a blind spot here, and you may want to take a look at this. Mm-hmm. I appreciate that. When I was younger, I would be very defensive. Like, oh, no. But now it's like, I didn't know that about myself. Tell me more. Mm-hmm. And it is amazing, the growth that has happened because of those conversations. And beyond that, it's also the group of people you can take down your hair and be a little loose, because as a CEO, you really can't do that.
We always have room for growth.
We do.
And mentors are the best ability to get that growth. So you talked a lot about mentors. Any shout outs you want to give?
Ooh, yes, I would love to. Well, Jerry, right here, you've been extremely thoughtful and impactful over the years, so thank you. I didn't realize 17 to 18 years. That is phenomenal. Of course, there's Meg Akins, Dan Masseri, Ruben Sloan, Brad Weir. There have been so many. Mark Edelman, I talked a lot about today. Mm-hmm. All these individuals have been so thoughtful with their time and wisdom over the years.
So it's a bit like the Grammys, right?
Oh, it is.
I know.
Oh, okay.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Okay.
My husband, Adam Alaily, and of course, my three beautiful daughters, Kate, Maddie, and Isis.
Wonderful. Mentorship, and I know I'm going to lean into this a little bit for just a second. Mentorship is something that I think you just talked about for yourself. And it sounds like that's what you're able to do for the people that you support.
Absolutely.
Right? You're giving them mentors and an ability to be able to interact with somebody that can help guide a ship. and give them the feedback that they need. Just like you said, Jerry, they're so excited to have the paycheck, right? And without a mentor or someone, they probably were not able to get there otherwise. And this is the great work that you guys are doing.
Exactly. So we do a lot of job coaching. We have individuals all walks of life, from 18, hovering on 90. So not everyone wants a job, but everyone wants a full life. And a full life looks different for different individuals. So you're right. So the 18-year-old more than likely does want a job. So how do you really give the right supports, communication skills, interview skills, finding the job that's the right fit for that person? We do that. And then life skills. I mean, I think my kids are going to need it after they get out of high school. Budgeting, communication, dealing with conflict, financial management, all those skills. Yes, we teach the individuals we support, but are just good knowledge as well.
The world really wasn't built for inclusivity in mind.
Yes.
Right? How do you think physical space can evolve to become more inclusive?
And you're absolutely right. It wasn't initially designed for accessibility in mind. You're 100% correct. That's kind of the neat thing, right? Now we can reimagine it and make it even better. Invite more people to the table with lived experiences, whether it's disabilities, seniors, different groups who can help design. And what comes out of that is really a better product, a more thoughtful product. For example, I think about the grocery stores. I go to Trader Joe's and the doors automatically open. I'm guessing those were built for people with wheelchairs originally. But you know what? It's a heck of a lot easier if you're a parent pushing a stroller with those automated doors, or if you're carrying all your bags in your hands, much easier than a push door, right? Another example I can think of is their curb cutouts. So when I was a child, Jerry, I don't know if you remember this, they weren't that...
No, they weren't.
That seamless. No,
I
they
went over the handlebars quite a few times in those things.
Like a big curb?
Yes.
I'm older than her, but yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's true. I was actually telling Maggie the very similar story. I remember having a scooter and I was full steam ahead going down the sidewalk and I felt really good, really proud of myself. I doubt I had a helmet on and I did exactly that. I skidded over onto the street with, big bruises all over. And those curb cutouts really help. They help kids with bikes, kids with scooters, and it also helps delivery trucks. Or could you imagine, I've been in countries where I've been trying to take luggage through the city, trying to find my hotel and the curb cutouts aren't there. It's pretty tough, right?
Yeah.
My point being, the more people we invite to the table, we're going to create a design that's more thoughtful and it just feels more natural and works better for everyone, whether they have a disability or not.
Right. I mean, I think a couple of years back when Serena and Susan were talking about, well, how do we do this? How do we create a universal design plan? And they were they were getting ahead of the plan. They saw a need and they were proactive with their approach, right? Because they had buildings, but they recognized some of those buildings would work, some weren't, and they put the foundation in several years ago, and now they're seeing now they saw the benefits, right? So what we saw just a couple of weeks ago with the new building, the new housing, is exactly the design we're looking for.
Well, and you're being very humble with that. The facility committee had a huge part of that. So we talked about, we had engineers, we had an architect, and actually the architect, his son lives in our homes, and he's been a wonderful volunteer throughout the years. We have Jerry on that committee. Together with that group, we did create universal design standards for our homes. So for our homes, and I mentioned we have 23, so we have quite a bit. That's a lot of homes to take care of. The standard 10 years ago for Aspire and probably for many other organizations was safety. Do we meet the basic state safety measures? But I can tell you, the first time I walked into a home, I was almost in tears. It was just dark and dirty and just, quite honestly, depressing. So that's why we worked with the committee. We had to turn that around. And now, you saw it. You saw the end product.
Right.
We just had a ribbon cutting for our Worcester home. And due to donors, due to government officials, due to this facility committee, we were able to create a home that is beautiful. When you walk into it, Universal Design Standards, you don't feel like you're walking into a home that's for someone who is disabled. You're walking into a home that feels comfortable and natural and welcoming, a place that anyone would love to call home.
Think about when you watch all these DIY shows and they walk in and say, oh, I love the open concept. Well, that's exactly what you walk into. You're not walking into, oh my God, I'm walking into a home where only people with disabilities can live here. You're walking into an open concept. You're walking into an environment where any family would feel comfortable bringing their family and extended family into that home and feel comfortable.
There's little touches around the home to make it more accessible. So, for example, the washer and dryer, it's front loading, which is good for anyone of any size. The shower you can roll into. Again, as you age in place, getting over that tub, it's more challenging. I have a 86-year-old mom. I'm nervous with her getting into the tub. It's all those little touches that just make sense.
Absolutely. Talked a little bit about the housing.
Yes.
How many locations do you have?
So there's 23.
23.
And yes.
Okay.
There's a lot.
And they're
There's
all
a
over
lot.
Chicagoland.
Mostly, so there's 7 in Lake County.
Okay.
And the remainder here in, well, I'm not sure what county I'm in right now, but they're in Cook County, the rest.
We're close enough to Cook County. We'll count it.
Yeah.
And those are big territories.
Yes, they are.
Right. And I'm sure there's plans for growth and continuation of this.
Yes.
Are there any other insights you can share from that experience of creating these homes?
It's really make a home that feels like a home. And it's all components of it. And don't let it out of your sight, because it's pretty easy to forget about the houses and just do Band-Aid jobs because it's capital intensive. It's going to be detrimental in the long run. The quality goes down. Really the experience for the people we support goes down, for our family members, our team members. Even though they are out of sight, it is critical to keep it front and center.
And also, I'm going to go back to that same home, even when you design corporate spaces. As a facility manager, you don't design spaces just strictly because of what they look like at the end. You design them for long-term operations. And that's exactly what they did. There was a lot of thought and process in how we're going to keep this location looking beautiful for the long run. There was nothing there that was minimized or make it more challenging for them to keep the building up to speed.
You're right. It's a lot of testing and pivoting that we've done over the last couple of years. So, an example, we've tried different flooring, and what we have come up with, because you do have several adults walking through the homes on a regular basis. You do have wheelchairs on occasion. So we have learned that the vinyl that looks beautiful, it looks like natural wood, but can easily be replaced, to your point. And making sure that we have standards throughout the homes, meaning the paint. Like the first time, I don't know if you remember this, Jerry, but the first time I took over facilities, I kid you not, I think we had 200 cans of paint, different paint. And I know there's all these rules on disposing. I'm not a facility person, but I know there's a lot of rules on that. So we had to really rethink that whole process. Yes, we want it to be individualized, but at the same time, do we need 200? No. Do we need 8 that people can select from? That makes more sense. That way, to your point, we can keep it fresh going forward. We have paint on hand.
And it's also collaborative with the people who are going to be living there. So the individuals who are going to be living there, they have input into their rooms.
Yes, they do.
So they can pick out their paint colors, and it's now theirs. It's not just their room. It's their room because they're bringing their own touches to the room, and they're really involved in the process.
So Jerry, I love the fact that they get their own personality within it. Can you guys tell me a little bit more about the people who live in this space and the process you go through?
So for the people who live in the space, they are absolutely part of the whole design process. So Susan and her team, yes, we've limited the number of options, but they are the individuals are absolutely involved from beginning to end. What tiling do they like in their bathrooms? What color do they like in general? So is it going to have more of a bold feel or more of an elegant feel? Everyone gets to have a part in the decision making for the entire home when we do a full remodel. For the refreshes, we also involve the people with the decision making. And please know that we really do believe at Aspire, the homes are not Aspire's homes, they are the people's homes. And we are invited into the homes to really make it a more beautiful environment, but it's their homes ultimately.
That's wonderful. I love the fact that they get say, although we do commercial interiors here, and sometimes a lot of personalities can come into place, but it has to be a little bit of a challenge at the same time to get everyone to agree.
Yes.
Right? Are there anything else about the homes that you guys want to share? I think it's such a beautiful thing that you're doing.
I think it's not only just the residents, but also the caretakers too, right? I mean, they bring a personality to the homes as well. They're engaged, 100%, and they bring the sparkle that you were talking about early, and they're the ones that make sure that things run and stay safe, and they are in contact with the facility people to let them know what's going on. So they're part of the solution. They're part of the long-term plan. So how do we keep this looking great?
And we are really fortunate. We have passionate team members, and many have been there 20, 30 years. And the individuals that they support are more family members than anything else. And that's what it feels like when you walk in. And you're right, there's a lot of communication that, the dryer's not working, or the paint is peeling, or this window doesn't work. But we need to know. That's absolutely key role in the front line with the facility team.
I do want to shift to a different space.
Okay. Sure.
We talked about the homes, but something else you guys have talked to me about is the simulated spaces.
Yes.
Can you share with everybody what that is?
Yeah. This is weaving in partnerships with spaces. We worked with 2 corporate partners, and it was really what innovation should look like. It was Wesco and Partstown working with Aspire. So a couple years ago, one of those partners, Wesco, came to us and said, we have a pain point. We have high turnover in our warehouse logistic space. Is there any solution that you can provide? And from that, we worked very closely with those 2 companies to create what we think is a pretty innovative solution. And that is, we have a mini warehouse within Aspire itself. So it's the full thing. It's from beginning point to end point. And we've created a whole curriculum and space around this. So individuals unpack from the truck, and then they can do picking and packing. I didn't know what the heck that was, but now I know. It's taking like 1,000 cogs and putting into bags of 10 cogs each.
Yes.
Yeah, so you guys are experts in this. And every other component of a real logistic space is there, from the noises, from the sounds of it. We have, what do you call those things? The lift things, the pitchfork,
The forklifts.
Forklifts, thank you. The forklifts will honk and go through to really mimic the safety of a real warehouse space. So it has everything you can imagine, the software, the entire thing. With the organizations, we were able to go in and say, okay, for your frontline workers, what does a job look like that's consistent between all the different logistic companies? Because everyone has a little different take on it. Sure. And we didn't want to design a training around one company. We really wanted it around multiple companies across Chicagoland. And from that, we created a 10-week training for people with disabilities. And then, this is the exciting part. We then have an 8-week paid internship, fair market wages, not sub-minimum wage, fair market wages, which is probably what your aunt experienced. She probably got paid like $2 an hour.
Right.
That's not what this is. Individuals are paid what everyone else is paid. It's fair pay for fair work. And individuals have 8 weeks, and this is for a limited time. So if there's any logistic companies out there right now, we still have interns available coming up because we do it in cohorts. So we've had 2 classes go through already. And the second cohort, they're having their internships I think you were there at the celebration ceremony for that
Right,
group. There's
right.
about 10 individuals. They all have internships, and the momentum is growing. We had 70 applicants for this next cohort, 70 for 10 slots, just to give you a frame of reference, because we want to keep it intimate to give that one-on-one education. But there'll be 10 individuals coming up that could really use an internship. And as I said, it's free. It's risk-free.
That is amazing, first and foremost, and creating a space where they really get the immersive atmosphere of exactly what they're going to go through.
Yes.
Where do you see this going in the future? Are there other applications that you think you might be able to roll in?
Thank you, Kimberly. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So we've committed, Aspire's committed to doing 3 industries over the next 5 years. So logistics was the first one, and it just felt very appropriate considering Chicagoland and where we're centered, center of the nation. The next industries that we wanted to identify, we looked at something that's high turnover, high saturation in Chicago, and high repetition. So after we looked at that, talking to the people we support, where are their interests, talking to companies, we landed on food and beverage.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is our next one.
Very cool.
And we are looking for corporate partners out in Chicagoland that can help us understand this industry. We're just talking a 30-minute conversation. What are the pain points in the food and beverage industry? And when you probably say food and beverage, what are you talking about, Serena? It could be anything from a McDonald's or your local restaurant to fine dining, where you want to really understand what happens back of the office. In other words, back of the kitchen, the food prep, dishwashing. What does that look like? What should the training look like to really better serve the food and bev industry right here in Chicago? We want to make it a stronger economy for Chicago as a whole, as well as providing true trainings and true job opportunities for the people we support.
Tremendous opportunities for growth, right? It's not
Yes.
not just going to be the dishwashing positions. It's going to be opportunities for people who have more greater ability to be able to advance their careers beyond just the entry-level position that they may start off with.
And for example, I know that one organization, the line chef is somebody who was one of their programs. So learning all that food prep, this was her dream, to be in this industry. And we want to open the door for many more people.
So it sounds like you're not only growing in the amount of applicants you have for the current role, but now you're having a second role.
Yes.
I mean, this is definitely growth, right? And an amazing proposition to be able to just develop space and places for people to be comfortable and work. And are there any other aspects of simulated spaces that you guys want to share?
Maybe one question is where we're going. What does the future look like for us beyond these 2 things? Because that's immediate. That's right here and now. I can see in a couple of years from now, 2 things really. One is AI. I do believe at some point the people we support will be wearing some kind of apparatus. I don't know if it's over their ears or their eyes. And I could see that AI could truly help with many different components. You know, in the logistics space, are you lifting ergonomically correctly? Are you sorting things or cutting things as efficiently as you could? I could see tips being shared as things are happening, or difficult conversations. On our trainings, there's really 3 pieces that we teach. Yes, the basic skills, whether it's food prep or the logistics space, but there's 2 other things we're teaching along. In both of those scenarios, the job is standing for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't think I could do it. And I work out, but I don't think I could do it. Yes, you have to have the right shoes. Steel-toed shoes. I did learn that. Yeah. But you have to have a lot of stamina. So we do a lot of what's called work hardening. And all that means is a lot of walking, a lot of lifting of weights. So you're better prepared for those jobs. And then communication skills. Really on the communication front, I think most individuals could probably use this training. When you have a difficult conversation, when there's conflict in the workplace, what do you say and do? So that's part of what we train on. And I could see the AI also helping with that. I could imagine a little something, someone comes up to you and is upset, helping you talk through what should you say next and what are some tips you could use. So I can see AI being a pretty big role in the future and probably not that distant. On top of that, I could see that this training probably could help more than just people with disabilities, people of all abilities. Imagine children, or not really children, young adults coming out of schools and they want to work in the logistics space and want a safe place to learn and make mistakes. I could see this being an excellent option. Or individuals who are changing careers later on, learning, yes, the basic warehouse skills, communication skills, also the work hardening, all could be really critical for people of all abilities. So that's where I see the future. A long-term future is really a smart training that has people of all abilities integrated in.
I love the fact that you're bringing in the youth too, right? To be able to, if I'm 100% honest, I have children that I worry about direct communication sometimes. They don't teach that in school, like the conflict and necessarily what to do. But also you have a program maybe in place that for seniors that are looking for their next role where they just they want to retire, but maybe they don't want to be home every moment. And what does that look like for them? So it's such a broad scale of things that you guys are trying to accomplish with this growth. So Serena, you mentioned Partstown, who is actually a customer of ours.
Oh,
we love working with them.
They are amazing.
Can you tell us more about your partnership there?
Yes, absolutely. So I mentioned Wesco earlier. Wesco and Partstown, in collaboration with us, created the space. But what does that really mean? We got in a room together virtually, and there's on the screen, they created a flow chart of what the warehouse space should look like. So there are operation folks from Partstown and from Wesco communicating in a silent language that only they understood. It was phenomenal. It was just pure silence, and there was little bubbles and squares and triangles happening on the screen that ultimately ended in a CAD, which ended up in our space. So that was the first piece. Partstown, oh my gosh, they have been phenomenal. They actually donated all the software. They brought in their engineer guy to come in and do all the computer software engineering and did all of our coding on our inventory so the cogs would match up with what was in the computer system. And they've been ongoing helping us with any type of software support. And it does go down on a rare occasion like any software. And they're right there for us. It's phenomenal.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
And they've hired actually some of the interns. So they were one of the groups that had the interns come in, and they hired an individual from the first cohort. Her name is Ella. And Ella, I wish I had a camera here just to show you her, because she just lights up. She lights up any room. She's an individual, in her own words, she said she's too disabled to get a full-time job. And she is not disabled enough to get resources. So she was in that hard position that many other individuals fall into. It's kind of the cracks. And we're trying to provide a solution for those individuals, to provide a bridge into meaningful work, to be really part of this economy. So Ella did get a job, and she loves it. One thing she has told us is that she's turning 26. And I think we all know, we have children, all of us, 26 is kind of a magical number because you fall off your parents' health care. And she was panicking. She had no way to cover her medical expenses. It can be considerable. And now at Partstown, because she has a full-time job, she has health insurance.
That's awesome.
It is.
Oh my gosh, I love that story. We'll have to have Ella come in sometime and have a conversation with her, because that's an amazing thing that she's able to start here, find the training, and then get the job and the health insurance she's looking for, right?
And they love her.
Life.
They love her.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I think simulated spaces are something amazing that you guys are doing that is separate from anything I've heard of in the area. So, community spaces play a big role in inclusion. How would you approach the design or use of these spaces to foster accessibility?
You know, this is a facility team. This is what they do. This is what they do. I've got one example, but Jerry, do you want to share?
I'm going to just go back to not just the homes, but also the warehouses and the office spaces. Every one of them has beautiful outdoor spaces for them, for gardens. They have unique ways of having engagements. So it's always built into every home has it, but every warehouse space where they're doing the training, there's opportunity for community space. there's opportunities for people to not only be out in the environment, but to engage with the environment.
We had an individual, she worked with us, I think her name was Wilma. She worked with us for 40 years, believe it or not, and she's recently passed away.
Oh.
But she was a huge gardener, and she created that program at Aspire, and we have now these amazing blackberry bushes, or maybe the raspberry bushes in the back of our headquarters because of Wilma. And the seniors used to come over and do all the gardening with the tomato plants and the basil and pick the little raspberries. And that's thanks to Wilma. Our academy in Hillside, it feels amazing when you walk in. You're a little bit shocked. It feels like you're downtown Chicago because it's meant to be cut out to look like the city itself. And Mark Edelman designed it. And he's an architect on our facility committee. His son, Ben, as I mentioned earlier, he's in our programs. He's completely in a wheelchair and has a job, actually his dream job. And Mark and his team, what they did to make the community space, because it used to just be a large warehouse. So think kind of dark, depressing, the metal tables. It was bad. He just waited. He took time. And this is what I think good design is. He took time with his team to just observe how do people interact with the space and how could he design it to meet the needs of the individuals. And as a result, he noticed that a lot of the individuals like to walk around the perimeter. So now we have like a beautiful walking path around the city center. There's places for quiet and peace and get away from all the noise. And there's also designed for connection and communication. And individuals we support, they love to sit there if they want to have that connection and those conversations. And there's also other individuals who like the quiet space, just to, decompress a little bit. I think all humans need that time for connection, time for decompression, and that's what that space provides, thanks to Mark.
Yeah, there's been many studies, especially recently, about the need for collaborative, focused, and just spaces to either stimulate or quiet. And it sounds like he really took a nice thought into everything that you guys might have coming up. Do you bring in the outside community into your spaces? And how does that go?
We have started to do that. So we have a kind of near where the logistics space is located. There's a large door that opens up, and so we can have food trucks out there and have different events.
I love food trucks.
I do too. So they can pull in if it's bad weather.
Yeah.
So it's large enough to do that.
That's awesome.
And different companies can come to Aspire and have their meetings at that location as well. And it's meant to be really integrated into our communities.
So you bring food trucks in the middle of winter,
We
right?
can. Technically,
Oh
we
my
could.
gosh, that's amazing. Sorry. I love anytime a food arrives on wheels.
Oh, it does make it a little bit better, right?
Somehow it tastes better every time. So you guys bring on a lot of community. You have spaces for the community to come in and interact, and you have these beautiful spaces for people to kind of feel comfortable wherever they need to be.
Yes.
Sounds like Aspire has pretty much everything anyone could ever need. Are there any other unique spaces that you have within your, whether it's your headquarters or any of the homes?
You started to touch on this, like where else are we doing? Where are we going? And what are we really excited for? And that is our strategy. So during COVID, we were all over the place, right? Things were shut down. You could imagine we had 23 islands, the 23 homes, our large academies. We were locked down and really removed from each other. That was tough. That was really, really tough. So over the last 2 years, what we've done with the help of many different partners, including Jerry, I think you got roped into this too, is to create our strategy. So we redid our mission statement and we created a roadmap for the future during that time. And the benefit of that is it brought everyone together.
Well, one of the things that, as you grow and as you make this plan, obviously capital is very important, right? And making sure that you have capital coming in. How are you guys dealing with some of those challenges?
Illinois, we are 49th out of 50 states in funding for adults with disabilities. There's a lot of great champions out there. We have made tremendous headway. It's still a challenge. Couple that with vast majority of our funds, and not to scare you, but about 80 to 90% of our funds come through Medicaid.
Okay.
And so there's obviously a lot of headwinds coming our direction. And donations were critical before, they're even more critical now. We're already feeling the impact, and we'll continue to feel the impact of reduced federal funding. That is a fact. But pure donations to keep the lights on is probably what we're looking at this point. Other ways to help, if donations are not a possibility, if you want risk-free, amazing workers who are gonna be loyal to you, provide those internships if you're in the logistics space.
Yeah.
Or if you're in food and bev, just give us 30 minutes to understand what are the pain points. We have a coffee company.
Okay.
It's called Aspire Coffee Works, and we have partnered with Metropolis, and I think you've had the coffee. How good is it?
It's the best ever.
Yes.
It's actually what brought me to become a solid volunteer. I started almost 17, 18 years ago as a volunteer, and that's the component that started my role as a volunteer for Aspire.
Wow.
So
You never
I've
know
been
where
part-
coffee takes you.
I've been, well,
It's
that's
true.
how, because when we start, if you don't mind me telling a
No,
little
yeah,
bit of the
please,
story,
please do.
when myself and Kevin Garvey from
okay.
Garvey's Office Supply were part of the program, and at that time they were strictly a retail, a coffee shop, and they would go to Mariano's and they'd go to Whole Foods and they would do demonstrations to sell the food, and they had a very small residential delivery program. And as Kevin and I were both in the corporate environment, we said, that's great, but have you considered corporate? And they looked at us like, what do you mean? And that was with their leadership and some help, some direction, they've transformed it into a wonderful business. They are now in multiple states. They ship coffee to huge organizations like Bank of America and organizations all over the Midwest who support the purchase, and all the proceeds from that coffee go right back to supporting the programs. So you get a great cup of coffee at a reasonable price, I'm not going to use the other name, but it beats the pricing of other vendors, and the quality is there because it's coming from Metropolis. They're doing, and who doesn't want to be able to showcase? It was one of the easiest things I ever had to do as a facility manager, is to sell. Once I sold them on the taste, and to have them to say, we're buying this product, it's going to help people with disabilities, and it costs less. Okay.
That is an easy sell.
This is easy.
Yeah.
So it's just now, that's how I got involved, and that's how I've been continuing to be involved in that program. And they've got some great people who work there.
And you're right. I'm a coffee snob, and it does taste amazing. And we sell it to, as you mentioned, to everything from a Bank of America to individuals.
Yeah.
So I buy it. I have a 5-pound bag at home that I drink every single day.
So if someone was looking to get that coffee or volunteer or donate,
Yes.
how do they reach out?
Ooh, thank you. So there's 2 ways. So for the coffee, it's aspirecoffeeworks.com. Aspirecoffeeworks.com. And for volunteering, donations, it's aspirechicago.com.
And if you're a logistics firm and you need some interns, right? You want that
Yes.
stability in your space, how do you get there?
aspirechicago.com and ask for Serena Alaily.
There you go. So we have the direct connection in.
Yes.
I wanted to ask, if you were looking forward to the next 12 months, what would be the number one thing you're excited about?
I have a lot. I have one
Oh,
from
you-
each. Could I choose one from each? We've
You
talked
choose-
about
yes.
a couple.
You-
We've talked
you-
about a couple.
yes.
So continuing the home renovations.
Okay.
And then food and bev. I'm very excited about food and bev. And number 3. So on the learning front in our academies, a really neat thing that we are implementing or piloting is virtual reality. So we have a lot of individuals who started their lives in institutions. That's the reality. Most individuals born in the 80s and earlier were living their entire lives in institutions and then came to Aspire in the 1980s. As you can imagine, they have not had all of the life experiences that you and I have had. And one of them being a vacation. So imagine putting on your virtual reality glasses or you're in front of a TV with your family And now you're in front of the Grand Canyon, and you can hear the eagles going overhead, and you can see the beautiful vistas. You're now there. You've got to experience in some form a vacation. And that's something we're going to implement.
That's very exciting.
At both of our academies.
And there's so many beautiful spaces out there that would be applicable for.
Yes.
Frankly, I kind of want to take a vacation through that too.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Sounds amazing. If you had to think of advice for future leaders, right? You had mentors, and mentors are very, very important, and you're a leader in this industry. What would be your advice you give to somebody who's just jumping into it?
Well, you mentioned the mentors.
Yeah.
So number one piece of advice is get a thicker skin.
Okay.
Yeah, take that advice.
Yeah.
Get it from every direction you can. Get it from the people below you, laterally, above you, any way you can, and just stay open to it. Stay curious. Don't get defensive. Take that information in and do something with it. So that's number one. Number two, I think you could tell that I love to learn. Continue to evolve. So find as much information as you can and continue to learn and grow as an individual, not just the how, but the what as well in this case. And the last thing is to take smart risk. So to be a leader in an organization, if you truly want to make moves, you do need to be planful and take smart risk. At the same time, make sure you're willing to either get out or scale it if it's effective. I've seen too many times, especially in our industry, people feel really passionately about a new program, and they're not able to get out of it when it's not really getting the outcomes that we all should see and need. So if you set up real qualitative and quantitative outcomes ahead of time, it makes that much easier. So take those smart risks, continue to learn, and get a thick skin.
I love it. 3 great pieces of advice for any person. Any final thoughts?
Well, I'm going to say it again. I'm going to go inverse. Buy our coffee.
Yes.
Buy our coffee if you want to do good for the communities. You're a large company, small company, we can support everyone or an individual. SpireCoffeeWorks.com. Donations, please. We are headed into a tough time with Medicaid. So the donations, and then the last 2 things, if you haven't heard it enough today, if you love risk-free, hardworking individuals, providing opportunities for a free intern, or if you're in food and bev, just helping us with the next step.
Well, thank you both for your time today. I think this was a wonderful conversation, and I was very insightful.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to find my way that I can help.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, please take a moment to rate our show. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the Work Inspired podcast so that you don't miss any of the incredible guests we have planned for upcoming episodes. We'll continue to find the best and brightest minds in business so that you can learn, grow, and succeed, and so that we can all work inspired. Work Inspired is brought to you by BOS, a leader in commercial working environments and a Hayworth best-in-class dealership. Experience our 360 approach and discover the team, tools, and techniques required to navigate the complexity of your next workspace at BOS.com. If you have ideas, feedback, or would like to be featured on our show, please email podcast@BOS.com. Thank you for listening. This has been a Workspace digital production. If you're interested in launching a podcast at your organization, please email info@workspace.digital for a free consultation.